If you needed a permission slip to color outside the lines for the brand that you're leading, here is your permission slip today. So challenger brands think differently. They have a rebellious edge. And my guess is that if you're listening to this, that you do too. And in business, the rebel wins the long game. And so we've identified 5 personalities of challenger brands that are winning in today's marketplace. These are personality traits that any challenger can lean into and adopt in order to win fans and scale. So Prentice, I'd love to hear, what are those 5 personality traits that you've seen over and over in your years of leading Door Number 3, an advertising agency that's based in Austin?
I think the ones that are winning in today's marketplace, we've identified 5. And you think of the biggest challenger of all, it was little David going up against Goliath, right? And so he had 5 stones to battle his giant. Well, here are 5 personality traits to really draw upon at any time. And I think the brands that are winning in today's marketplace, they tend to lean into one of these pretty heavily. And it may sometimes be a bit of a combo of them, but let's just go through them. There's 5. One of them is lightning rod. So lightning rod, like think Lady Gaga. It wasn't just about wearing a dress made of meat, but it was about doing the unexpected. So you love her, you hate her, but you can't ignore her. And I think that lightning rod personalities are polarizing in a way that advances the conversation, that pushes up against something in order to advance their own narrative. They're not polarizing for polarizing's sake. I mean, there are some that have done that, but I think the ones that do it really well, if you think about historically lightning rod brands like Benetton, American Apparel, Mike's Hard Lemonade, there's Duluth Trading Company today that's very specific to their audience, and it's kind of personality that can be polarizing, but it doesn't have to. So I think just you look at them, and there's the ones that have the confidence to do that really well, and they're doing great. But you really have to lean in and be willing to have that personality and to own it. The second one I'll mention is heretical. So really, it's looking over the horizon line and bringing something today that people didn't even realize they needed. So it's this ability to kind of look around the corner. I mean, obviously Steve Jobs was heretical all the way through. So it's like, did we really know we needed this technology? Now you can't live without it. So I mean, there's brands that really do that well, whether it's Amazon trying to deliver packages with drones. There's a great company in Austin called Silver Car that, you can rent a nice Audi at the airport instead of having to play rental car roulette and go to Hertz and end up in a PT Cruiser. You can get a great looking Audi every time. So it brings predictability and style to every rental car experience. So these are the brands that are doing it really well. We work with First United Bank, which is the fastest growing community bank in the United States. They are heretical in that they are bringing pillars like faith, wellness, really important things that tie to people's personal goals and family goals to banking. And it's like, banking, well, you shouldn't be talking about that. Well, they are. And so that's the personality trait that I think works really well for certain brands if you can own it and stand behind it. The third one is one of my favorites. It's called foster rejection. So it's the idea of pushing away the masses in order to attract your most ardent fans. I think about brands that do this really well. And I don't love the whole there's something for everyone kind of strategy. I think it's a bit weak. I think you can graduate to that. Maybe at some point you can become the Cheesecake Factory and have a giant thud of a menu and it drops on the table and have everything from spaghetti to Asian dishes and everything else. But I really think anything. But I do think that the challengers that are starting now, growing, scaling now, they can't get away with that. You kind of grandfathered into that something for everyone. Instead, it's having something very specific and offering it to a select few that seek it out and become your most ardent fans. And then they spread the word, and that allows you to grow from there. So pushing away the masses, that's the next one, foster rejection. Fourth one is compulsive servitude. So this idea of over-delivering to the extent that it becomes the very definition of your brand. So what I mean by that is it's going far beyond please and thank you, or greeting someone at the door if you're Walmart. That's wonderful, but it's almost table stakes. It's doing something extraordinary in the customer experience or anything throughout the brand experience that sets you apart. The Ritz-Carlton is notorious for this. They can anticipate your needs before you even know you need something. They have it for you in your room. When I ordered flowers for some family members in Washington, D.C., I could have gone to 1-800-Flowers and paid for the typical flower delivery experience, but instead I used Urban Stems, and it was a great experience. And when the flowers were delivered, they sent me a text with with a picture of the flowers on the front door saying, hey, you're a hero. You just made someone's day. I've never had that experience with delivering flowers before when I've gone online. Usually I order it, I pay a huge surcharge, and I don't have a clue what it was delivered or what it looked like. But so it's finding those opportunities to surprise and delight, and we call it compulsive servitude. Again, it's over delivering in a way that's very definition of your brand. It's really who you become. The next one and the fifth one is constant evolution. This idea that the most powerful brands really transcend their category origin, like where they start. So if you think of brands that have done this really well through the years, it'd be like Apple, obviously. They started with one thing, personal computing, and now you can get a watch. You think about big brands like Virgin. It was a record store on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, and now they have airlines and they have vodka and they have everything you can imagine. So they've earned the right to move into a new category because they've done such an excellent job and won such a big fan base in their category of origin. Constant evolution. One of my favorite examples of this is a brand out of Detroit called Shinola. They're a watch company, make meticulously, beautifully made watches, awesome timepieces. Then they started making turntables, and then they started making bikes and pet gear. And then most recently they opened a hotel, the Shinola Hotel in Detroit. But you know what they stand for, who they are, and what they're all about because you go back to the watches that they started with, and it's like they earn the right to move on and do all these other amazing things because you believe in the brand, you know what you're going to get. So I think about these 5 personalities of winning challenger brands in today's market. They're like your stones you can pick up and hurl at the opponent when you need them. But I think that the brands that are really winning, they lean into it. They usually are big into one, maybe an overlap of a few. And I don't know that it ends here. I think there's personalities that we've developed for our clients that kind of stretch the borders of these even a little bit more. But start with these 5, look at them and say, hey, where do we fit into this landscape and what's a space we can own in a way that's really going to let our brand personality shine?
I love that. It's super practical, isn't it? It's an inventory almost as you're looking at your own brand. And the goal of this show is that it is not just noise in your ears. You probably wouldn't be listening to it if it was, but we want to be super practical for you to leave an episode and be able to have a fresh perspective to look at the brand that you're leading and say, which one of those are we checking the box on and which ones could we turn up the dial on and really start to shine through in new ways. So our goal today is that you feel energized. And then what do we want you to do today? We want you to take a second look at your brand with fresh eyes, and honestly feel the permission to flip the script, like to show up, to be bold, and to stand out. As we said at the beginning, if you need a permission slip, here it is for you. So thanks for listening. And as you're on your journey to finding your voice, let us know in the comments just what stood out to you today. And honestly, we would love to know, what do you want to hear about next? We create these episodes as we feel inspired and invite you into what's jumping out to us in our everyday world. So we'd love to hear from you about what's inspiring you and what do you want to hear more about, and let's talk about it.